بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا صاحب السكينة مدفونة في المدينة المبعوث رحمة للعالمين أبو القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجنا ونادعهم وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وبعد. ولعنة دائما على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم قيام الدين. قال جل جلاله في محكم كتابه المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وجوزنا بني إسرائيل البحر فآتوا على قوم يعكفون على أصنام لهم قال يا موسى اجعل لنا آلهة كما لهم آلهة قالوا أنكم قوم تجهلون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This verse in which I read is from chapter 7, verse 138, where God Almighty says, "And we made the children of Israel, or Bani Israel, cross past the sea. Then they came across a people that they saw were worshipping an idols. And then they talked and they said to Musa, oh Musa, make us a idol," basically. They said, make us a god so that we can worship. Then Musa, of course, replied, surely you are people acting ignorantly. So when we look at this example, the main factor when we ponder and reflect about the stories of the Holy Quran, we'll find there is many similarities that happened to the Muslim Ummah. That is, that through time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposed many people for who they really were. In other words, they showed their true colors. Here, we find that Bani Israel, after Musa comes to him and saves them from a tyrant like Pharaoh, they see all the miracles, even the splitting of the sea. And beforehand, you find that, you all are familiar with the story of Musa, going to Pharaoh, the tyrant, and the staff turning to a snake, and the luminous hand. Whether they saw it or heard about it, these were witnessed by many people. Even the magicians themselves, as the Quran has put forth, they fell down in prostration because they knew that this was not magic, but this was given to him by a greater power, being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So after, you can imagine, after seeing so many miracles and the greatest one of crossing the sea, yet they come across a group of people worshipping an idol, and they have the audacity to tell Musa, God's prophet, who taught them about monotheism, about Tawheed, oh Musa, make us a God so that we can worship. What this really explains, it explains that within these people, there was still a disease of shirk. There was still a disease of maybe what their forefathers had believed in. And yet, a simple task like this, after seeing so many miracles, and they still asked something that they really knew was against the teachings of God's prophet. And when we look at this, we'll find that the same thing happened when it came to the Islamic Ummah. That the Holy Prophet, God's greatest ever creation, who is greater than all of God's prophets. And we have narrations that he actually, in fact, performed over 1,000 and even more miracles. Whatever the prophets from beforehand could perform, our beloved Prophet could perform it and even better. People saw that of the tree coming towards him when people said to him, prove that to us that you are a prophet, and told that tree to come forth and told it to go back. People saw how we cured the sick. People saw, for instance, in the battle of Khandak, when the Muslims were surrounded by the enemy and the food rations were minimal, people saw how the Prophet would get small amounts of food and then multiply it so that all the Muslims could eat from. Many other miracles. People saw him put his beloved saliva on the eyes of Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salamu alayhi, and curing from that sickness that most people thought that no way that Imam Ali was going to come and fight. But another type of miracle that's related to today's story when we talk about the battle of Jamal is that the Prophet himself prophesied many incidents that are going to happen. It was like a warning system to the people that be careful. There are within you people that are going to, after seeing all the miracles, like the story of Musa, after seeing all the miracles, are going to go back to the teachings of the forefathers. They're not going to follow me. They're going to go against me. So when the Prophet, for instance, told them that the first person to follow me after my martyrdom was none other than his beloved daughter, Fatima al-Zahra, who herself was martyred. He foretold this. He told the Muslims and told Abu Dharr as well that you will be exiled by Uthman into a place and you will die out there lonely with your family. You know, and he also told people that within my wives there's going to be a wife that will rise up against the Imam of her time. He didn't actually say the Imam of her time, but he said to her that you will rise up and cause, a war. And he told her the famous story of when they go to a place called Hawab and the dogs start barking. And this is mentioned not just in our books, but in the other books. So what it is, the Prophet has already told these people that you will see many people within our community, within the Muslim community, that are going to go astray. And then you look at, for instance, the Prophet said to a companion, a great companion like Zubair, who, that he was known as one of the swords of Islam, that Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam says that Zubair was from Ahlul-Bayt until his son Abdullah grew up. And of course it was affected because we know that Zubair was married to the sister of Aisha, and it was probably more influenced by the mother that brought him up to be this cursed son who also deviated his father. But the Imam says that he was from Ahlul-Bayt until his son grew up. Now, people like Zubair, people like Talha, and the wife of the Prophet, Aisha, what was their driving force after they saw so many revelations, after they saw so many miracles, after they heard the greatness of Ali ibn Abi Talib, yet they still fought a war against, and it was the first civil war in the Islamic faith that cost the lives of close to 30,000 people. So when we look at this, like the story of Musa, it took time that these people showed their true colors. And the driving force of what they showed their true colors was two things. Was the hatred and the envious of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and combined with the love of the dunya. That's all it was. And you find that, subhanAllah, in many dealings that we have on a daily basis, those people that you associate with, you think sometimes they're your best friends or close companions, but through times, in times of difficulties, in times of needs, when you think that they're there for you, they will show their true colors. that the only reason they're probably with you is because you had something that they need. The only reason they were with you is because you were financially better off than them, and so forth. It was said that once that a husband had a sick wife and he made a nidhr. And the nidhr was that if his wife, a vow that is, that if his wife was to be cured, he would actually sacrifice his best sheep and give it, as an offering and feed to his family and friends. So alhamdulillah, his wife gets cured. He tells his son, go, call the relatives, call the friends to come. I'm going to sacrifice the sheep, and we're going to have them all over for a barbecue. Anyway, the son goes, comes back a while, tells the dad they're coming. Says, alhamdulillah, very good. He's excited. All these people that associate with these for many years, calls them friends, family, really looks up to, loves them. Anyway, after a while, 5 or 6 people only turn up. And this man was known throughout the community. He had also many relatives. He said to his son, did you tell everyone? He said, yes, I did. He goes, what did you tell him? He said, my father is going to start a fire, and the fire had got out of control and he needs your help. He goes, but that's not what we were doing. He says, Dad, if I told them that you're going to have a barbecue and free meat, everyone would have came. But when I said to him that my father had this situation and it got out of control, only those that were true friends or true family associates and were doing it because of you, your personality, dropped everything and came. And you can see this in the world today, my brothers and sisters. What's happening in the world? How many situations are occurring. And it's only the Shia, the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib, that are standing up for justice against oppression. Why? Because they are the ones that have followed in the footsteps of the greats of the Ahlul-Bayt alayhim salam. They know the principle of what they are here on this earth. They know to uphold these great divine attributes that the Ahlul-Bayt stood for. And so this gives them that honor. And that's why they are on top of all this, because they are known for this nobility, that's why they're attacked. That's why they're killed. That's why they're oppressed. But they know that this is what God has ordained them to do. Unlike others, the other Arabs, for instance, they are like these people in the story here. They only come and help you when they want something off you. Now that thousands of people are dying, they're sitting back in their comfortable lifestyles, making money, and so forth. While we are, the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib, have this nobility to stand up and to help all those who were oppressed. Subhanallah, on this point, out of all the so-called caliphs beforehand, we know Ali ibn Abi Talib was always the rightful caliph and the Imam. But before the battle of Jamal, it was the people that came to Ali ibn Abi Talib and begged him, please, be our caliph. Now we've had enough of what's going on with the first and the second and the third. They saw the mischief. In the times of Uthman as well, they saw how much people were in hunger. So when Ali ibn Abi Talib comes into the rightful position, even historians have put this, that no one in history has ruled more than 50 of today's countries and could stand and sit on the pulpit and say that there is not a single person that is in need. It has never happened in history, my brothers and sisters. So when the time came for Amir al-Mu'mineen to rule justly, Talha and Zubair and Aisha showed their true colors. See, they came to Amir al-Mu'mineen wanting the governorship of Kufa, wanting the governorship of Basra. Amir al-Mu'mineen knows what type of people they are. He said to him, you are not worthy of this. Huh? And even before this, historians have said that they were getting paid differently from other Muslims. But when Amir al-Mu'mineen came into power, he said, no, all Muslims are paid equally. Even the Caliph himself. So they bring up, stories of their past. And on this point here, my brothers and sisters, let me just point something out here. If you respect someone, if someone is in a high position, especially in a divine position as the Caliph, and you know his position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you come to him out of emotion and you ask him for something and he simply says to you, no. Now, any logical person will take this as advice, as wisdom. They might get a bit emotional, nearly to the point of being angry, but he knows best. But if someone asks this divine person and he says no, and then they go back and they start, arguing between themselves, coming up with excuses, trying to manipulate, bringing in third parties and so forth, then they have no respect for that person at all. So this would happen when Talha and Zubair came and they started to try to convince Ali ibn Abi Talib that they deserve more because they've been there from the start and, helping defend the religion. The Imam goes to him, did you defend it? Like, he's not showing off. Did you defend it better than I did? Did you? They had no answer. Did you see me taking more? So this is to show the justice of who a true Caliph is, a true Imam is. So anyway, when we look at this, we'll find that when they came to ask him, and then of course he wouldn't give him this position, then they started to find other means of getting their power. And then of course they joined into a group, and this was like the beginning of the uprising and the treachery towards Amir al-Mu'mineen, even to the point the Imam knows what they're doing, because when the Imam refused whatever they wanted, they said to the Imam, can we go and do Umrah? The Imam goes, you have my permission to do Umrah, but I know that you're not going to do Umrah. I know that you're going to do treachery against me. That's one part. Leave Talha and Zubair on one side. We have to also organize how they fitted in with the other category, and that is, of course, Aisha. But before we go into how they got her on board, you're probably asking yourself, how is it so that someone like Zubair can turn like this? And we kind of brushed it at the start of our lesson, that we said that it was the hatred and the envious of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and of course the love of the dunya. The Quran, as always, gives us many examples of divine individuals that had what they call al-mustajab al-da'wah. Some of them had ism al-a'zam, like Bal'am ibn Bahura, who was a disciple of Musa. He goes to Fir'aun. Fir'aun calls him to try to deviate him, offers him money, no. Offers him money again, second time, no. Offers him the third time, keeps increasing, so finally he says yes. The Quran talks about this person that we could have lifted him up, وَلَكِنْ أَخْلَدَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ, but he chose the dunya. He chose the dunya. And then God says, فَمَثَلُكَ مَثَلِ الْكَلْبِ, that the example of him is like a dog. So that's one example. Even Qarun, Musa's cousin, who used to read the Torah in the most melodious way, beautiful manner. Look at the way he ends up going against Musa, even accusing Musa, God forbid, of a despicable act, and he got his punishment. Many people that were in this position, but the love of the dunya changed them. They showed their true colors. And when we look at this, one particular wife, as you know, when Uthman was in power, and this is another important here, my brothers and sisters, to show you that in your life, always stick and do what is righteous. Always stick to the halal way. I know there's going to be temptations every so often that you want to make money quick or you want something very quickly. But if you do something in the haram way, you might not see it now, but it was going to come back and bite you. It's come back. Everything it's been promised, that everything that is done in the haram way, there's no barakah in it. Why I said this is because that wife, when she came to Uthman and she asked for her inheritance, Uthman goes to her, you don't get any inheritance. She goes, why? He says, because you and your father are the first ones that put this system in that said the prophets don't leave any inheritance. Whatever is left by them goes to sadaqah. And you bore witness of them. You didn't give the right to Fatima the Zahra. So you know how what they did back then, it came to bite them. This enraged her. So she leaves her house, listen to this, or leaves the house or the castle of Uthman, and she says, Uqtulu na'thalan faqad kafar. Kill Na'thalan. Na'thal is, and if you can translate it, it's that of an old man, a very old man who was ahmaq, who was a fool. But who gives you the right to show you again, see the hubb of the dunya? So what, he didn't give you inheritance? Is that enough to go and order the killing of your so-called caliph, someone that that your father was best friends with? How is that? So she walks out of here and she says, kill this Na'thal for his disbeliefs. Anyway, she goes back to Medina. And then, as you know, there's bits and pieces of the story, but when Uthman is killed, and before he's actually killed, we have to point this fact here. It was Imam Ali alayhi salam that sent Al-Hassan to protect him. Do you know that when he was circled and he was by the enemies that wanted to kill him, to the point they stopped food and water, Imam Hassan went and gave him water, though he went to protect him. So I need to show you this, because after they use this fake call that Imam Ali alayhi salam was behind, God forbid, by the killing of Uthman. That was their fake, you can say, banner. But we all know, my brothers and sisters, it wasn't. It was because Ali ibn Abi Talib was someone that you couldn't fool. He knew what these people are. And on this point, my brothers and sisters, imagine Uthman is killed, okay? Ali ibn Abi Talib now is told by the people that you're going to be the caliph. We want you to be the caliph. If someone is in a foreign country is killed, who is obliged to look into the murder? The individuals or the family members, or is it the authority? You know what I'm trying to say here, my brother and sister? First of all, Talha, Zubair, and Aisha were from different clans to that of Uthman. I'm not saying that's not an excuse to call up for someone that's being treated unjustly. But what I'm saying that it's the authority that should look into it. That's logically. But they did not want the authority to look into it, because Amir al-Mu'mineen, we have another narration, Amir al-Mu'mineen tells people that, the ones that come up and said that they've come out with the fake blood or the qamis of Uthman. It's like the story of Yusuf, isn't it? The story of Yusuf, they came out, the brothers, with the fake, with the fake blood, saying that, that the brother has been killed. which wasn't being killed. Similar to this story. They said that a certain person killed Uthman, but Imam Ali alayhi salam knew that the killers was them themselves. They were involved in it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So if Imam Ali alayhi salam was to do further investigation, he would have exposed them. So they thought, you know what, let's come up with this, this plot so that we don't get exposed. Anyway, going back to the story, when Aisha finds out that the people elected Amir al-Mu'mineen, she flips it. She goes crazy, because she wanted someone else in particular, someone that she could, influence and to give her, her wealth. So the hadith says that when she got to Medina, Talha and Zubair as well encouraged her, to come out. You're the wife of the Prophet. When people see you, they'll rally up behind you. We'll get a lot of support. Anyway, hadith says, and this is a point that the Holy Prophet also had also warned her about, because when they brought her the camel, she asked, "What's the camel's name?" And the person said to her, "It's named Haskar." And then all of a sudden she says, "Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un." To God that we belong, and to God that we should return. He says, why? He says, the Holy Prophet warned me not to get onto a camel called Haskar. Get me another one. Anyway, they searched because they needed a big camel, something that was, was special. Anyway, what they did, how cunning they were, they went and they decorated it with something else, and they told her that it's a different camel, it's not Haskar. Anyway, on top of all this, she went to get the other women or the other wives of the Prophet to come in with her. She went to Salama first. Salama tells her, "Are you serious?" I'm paraphrasing. First she goes, the Quran says that the Quran says that the women and the wives of the Prophet to stay in your houses. She tells that, first of all, war is not obligatory or incumbent on you. You're a lady. Secondly, how is it so if someone came up and said to the Prophet that your wife was racing camels in the desert, how would that look? And on top of this, Salama goes, if I was to do this to my husband, I could not look him into the face. I'll be embarrassed. And then she tells Aisha, fear God. Have modesty. Don't do this. Even Malik al-Ashtar, the general of Amir al-Mu'mineen, alayhi salam's army, writes a letter to her, tells her as well, fear God. Your place is not out in the public. And he tells her, if you come out showing your eyes and uncovering your habaya and showing your hair, what he's saying basically is that you're the wife of the Prophet. I know she won't do this, but what he's saying, that's basically what you're doing if you come out. We're informed that when we speak to you, to speak to you from behind the hijab, behind the veil. He says, for if you do this, that I will fight you. I don't care if you're the wife of the Prophet. I will fight you and I will return you back home to your rightful place. Do you understand this? Anyway, she goes, she doesn't get even Hafsa. She asks Hafsa to come out. Abdullah ibn Umar, the brother of Hafsa, stops her. He goes, no, this is not for you. Don't go. They psych her up. She goes. She comes to a place called Hawab. And this is the narration I think we mentioned at the start of the lesson, that the Prophet said to her that when you come to a place and the dogs will start barking. So the dogs did start barking. And, she gets a bit scared. She asks, what's this place? They told her it's Hawab. So he goes, please return me back. Why return you back? What do you mean? We need you. If imagine she returns back, the whole plot will fall. They say, no, take me back. So what they did, they got 50 Bedouin people and they bribed them to tell her, no, you know what, you're not in a place called Hawa. That was a way before. And that changed her mind again and she kept going forth. But to understand that the Holy Prophet himself said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, "O Ali, ستقاتل بعدي الناكثين والقاسطين والمارقين." O Ali, that after me, you will fight three types of people or parties, الناكثين, they're the ones that break their allegiance. And that is the battle of Jamal. And he says, والقاسطين are the people of Sham, they're the oppressors. والمارقين are the disbelievers, the Khawarij. So again, we see that the Prophet foretold Imam Ali alayhi salam and those companions that this is going to happen. Anyway, she heads off to Basra to meet up with Talha and Zubair. And apparently she goes to Mecca first, and then they go to Basra. But we have to understand that when the news got to Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was in governmentship, his main object now was to bring justice and put those rightful people as governors in the places that he now rules. So he got rid of the governor of Basra, got rid of the governor of Mecca, of Medina. He wanted to put rightful people in there. But he still had one problem. He had Sham. Because Umar al-Khattab had put the cursed Muawiyah in Sham. So basically, he had prepared himself to go to Sham. But when the news got to him that this is going to, they had gone to Basra. And when they went to Basra, Talha and Zubair and Aisha, they went to Basra. They actually spilled the blood of Muslims. They what's it called? They tortured the governor. Uthman ibn Ma'un. They tortured him. The hadith says that they plucked his hair one by one. Talha and Zubair sliced the throat of 40 of his guards. And then they ransacked the treasury. So hold on a sec. You're supposed to be coming out for for those people that supposedly killed Uthman and for his rights. Why are you ransacking the treasury for? To show you that none of the intention was right. None of it. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he hears about this. And Aisha had sent a letter to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. He was the governor of Kufa. She sent him a letter saying to him, look, we know Kufa is a stronghold for Ali ibn Abi Talib, but all I want you to do is to make sure the people don't join his army. Anyway, Imam Ali alayhi salam tries to grab as much people to come to fight this oppression. And Ammar ibn Yassin got up, even Imam Hassan got up. But Malik al-Ashtar, the general, Malik al-Ashtar, the person who Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says that Malik was to me like I was to the Holy Prophet. He gets up. He tells him, because the people were a bit hesitant. Are you serious? Like basically, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is the nafs of Rasulullah. This is the Asad Allah, the lion of God. This is the haq. And we all know that many times the prophets told you, Ali al-ma'al haq wal haq ma Ali, that Ali is with the truth and truth is Ali. We all know that the Quran is with Ali and Ali was with the Quran. All these narrations, come on, are you serious? Like, you stand up now. Do you call yourselves Muslims? Anyway, this really pumped up the Muslims and they joined him. Anyway, they start heading off towards Basra. This happened in the year 36 AH. So when they head towards Basra, Amir al-Mu'mineen, being the commander of faithful, my brothers and sisters, the same ideology as what the Prophet would do. The last thing he wanted to do was to have blood of Muslims spilt. So what he did, He sent many letters to them first, telling them, let's come to a compromise. What you're doing is wrong. You've already attacked. You've already spilled blood. To no go. Even when he got to Basra himself, again, Abdullah ibn Abbas, or Abdullah ibn Abbas, we had Khusama ibn Thabit, the one who, the Shahidatayn, the one whose word was two witnesses, Ammar ibn Yasir, many companions, Malik al-Ashtar, many companions came out and tried to stop these people from what they were committing. It just fell the death ear. Even to the point, my brothers and sisters, even to the point that Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, comes himself and he goes there unarmed, and the Muslims that are with him say, "Are you serious? Like, they'll kill you." He says, "No. The most wretched of people is going to kill me." Anyway, he goes there and he talks to Talha and Zubair, and he tells Zubair, he goes, "Don't you remember the time that you came?" And he started talking, and he said that to the Holy Prophet that Ali ibn Abi Talib is very boastful, and the Prophet told you, "No, he's not very boastful. He's very respectful, so respect him." And then the Prophet told you, "Oh, Zubair, there will be a time where you come and you turn and you hate this person and you actually fight this person." And Zubair goes, "Me?" He goes, "Remember the Prophet told you?" And Zubair put his head down in shame. And he tells Talha, he goes, where's your family at the moment? He goes, "They're at home." He goes, "You left your wife and your family at home, and you told the wife of the Holy Prophet to come out in the open? What type of person you are?" Now, to show you that the mentality and mindset of these people. Anyway, it was to know. Going back on one point, Aisha, because when Aisha said, "Uqtulu na'thalan faqad kafar," when people heard that now she wants to, come out and defend and Uthman, people came up to her, said, "Hold on a sec, a while ago you came out and said pretty much kill him because he had disbelief. What changed your mind now? What changed your mind?" He said, "No, we said we had a bit of an argument and news got to me that Uthman, repented and I forgave him." No, it wasn't. It was not at all. It was when you found out that the person in charge now was Ali ibn Abi Talib, the hatred that you had towards him. Anyway, the last resort before the fight, before the actual camel, the Ma'arakat al-Jamal, Imam Ali sends a young Muslim, and his name was Muslim, but he tells him that whoever goes next, there is a very good chance that he's going to be martyred. He says, "I'll do it, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen." He goes, "Doesn't matter, are you sure?" He goes, "Yes." He goes, "Go and give him one more chance, hold in the Quran, and let the Quran judge, between us." So he goes there, holding the Quran in his right hand. They chop his right hand off. He takes the Quran now in his left hand. They chop his left hand off. He picks up the Quran in his mouth. Aisha orders the people to shower him and kill him with arrows. That's it. Now, the war is going to begin now. Anyway, so Imam Ali alayhi salam mobilizes his troops, but he tells them, as someone who is just, he tells them, "Look, when we fight, there is going to be no one is to mutilate any of the enemy. If you see them running, you don't attack them. If you see them injured, you don't attack them. You don't go into the houses as well and ransack everything. Whoever comes to fight you, you fight him. That's it. This is the way that the Holy Prophet has taught us. And we don't start the fight until they start it." And that's what happened. They started showering the arrows towards the armies of Imam Ali, and then the battle began. The battle has many details, but I just want to show you now on this point here, in today's society, if we were all there in the battle of Camel, this is very important here. Whenever you have a debate with anyone, any Muslim, to see what his ideology is really about, to see what his thinking is really about, you tell him, do you not know about the battle of Jamal? He says, yes. Do you not know, for instance, you had Talha and Zubair and Aisha on one side, and you had the likes of Ali ibn Abi Talib on one side, Al-Hassan, Al-Hussein, Malik al-Ashtar. You had even Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, the brother of Aisha on that side. He said, if you were there now and you had to choose which side you were going on. Remember, in Islam, we only have haqq, truthfulness, and batil, falsehood. Which side would you choose? There's no in between. And this, by the answer they give you, will tell you the ideology and who they really are on the inside. They'll show their true colors. SubhanAllah, that's it. This war itself will expose those that are true and loyal to the Holy Prophet, meaning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they know, they'll see the right form. Even Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, when he tests, a person comes to him and he tells, the person comes to him and he tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, I see, Talha, Zubair, Aisha on that side, and you're on this side with, the great companions and your sons. Who do I fight with? The Imam doesn't tell him, Allahu Akbar, look at how the justice. The Imam doesn't tell him, I'm with the truth. He tells him the famous hadith. He says to him, Al-Haq la ya'arfu bil-rijal. Or in another hadith says, Al-Haq la ya'arfu bin-nas. That truth is not known by people. People have their way to portray. The physical aspect. Because a'raf al-haq ta'arif ahlaha. When he says to him, know truth, and you know the people of truth. No, look at my background, basically say, look at the background of who we are. Look at the background. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Al-Hassan al-Hussein, Allahu Akbar, Ammar ibn Yasir, Malik al-Ashtar. But the Imam himself, that everyone knows his position. Everyone knows that what the Prophet talked about the greatness of Ali ibn Abi Talib. On top of all this, we know that no one can debate that. He even mentions that he's my nafs, he's myself. When you know the haqq, you will know the people of truth. So in the battle, go back to the story of Musa, and I'll finish off this. They started, because she's on the camel, the camel became like the idol for him. So they actually went back to the pre-ignorant era, to the point where they would take from the feces of the camel, open that up, whatever, and take it as a barakah. They held on to the camel and they were getting barakah from the camel. It's like an idol. Everything became like an idol worshipping. So the Imam knew the only way to stop the war was to bring down the camel. And the bravest of all people went out to bring down the camel, and that was none other than Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. Because no one could go the feast. Even Malik al-Ashtar says, there was a narration that they held on to the camel and to the reins of the camel so much that he goes, I cut so many arms off, but more arms kept holding it. They had this layers and layers of people protecting the camel, and that wife on top, the wife on top was encouraging him. And this is a point here. Again, go back to the Quran for those people who say, she's the wife of the Prophet. So what? Did Nuh not have a wife that went against him? Did Lut not have a wife that went against him? The Quran says this, ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلَ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِمْرَأَةَ نُوحٍ وَإِمْرَأَةَ لُوط. God gave an example for the people that disbelieved, the wives of Nuh and the wives of Lut. They disbelieved. And in fact, this scenario is not the first time it happened. Because if you go back in history, subhanallah, go back in history. The successor of Musa was who? Yusha ibn Nun. Yusha ibn Nun actually fought a war against the wife of Musa. Do you believe this? So can you see the scenario? The successor of Musa fights a war against a wife's prophet. Imam Ali alayhi salam he's the successor of the prophet, fights a war against the wife of a prophet. Anyway, finally Imam Hassan brings the camel down. Brings the camel down. And of course, at the end, it's equivalent to 30,000 Muslims, or something. The least hadith, the most is 30, some say 20, 25, but 30,000 Muslims died for this war of greed, for this war of hatred towards Ali ibn Abi Talib. So when we look at this, my brothers and sisters, there's a lot of other details I could have talked about. But what I'm saying is that you'll see, if you go into afterwards, how Amir al-Mu'mineen respected, even after this, he respected the wife of the Prophet. You know, he told her own brother who was fighting against her, he gave him women that dressed like men and to safely take her back to Medina. He made sure that there was no those people that were involved with the enemy, they were all pardoned by Amir al-Mu'mineen. Allahu Akbar. Justice. And one final point, the Imam did something as well. See that camel, what he did? He burnt it. The same thing that Musa alayhi salam, see the similarities? The same thing that Musa did to the golden calf of Samiri. He burnt it and threw it away. Because people worship this. They will cling to it. Anyway, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we take lessons from this, the battle of Jamal. And I encourage you to go back and really study a lot more details. I could only give you the brief points in this short period of time, but go back and look into this battle and how it happened, and the effects, and see the similarities between previous nations and what happens in today's society. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He does not take us out of this world, except that He is pleased with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon our loved ones, especially those that have gone into the next world. Hadi wa ikh da'wana, and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad.